You know, I never did like a bully, especially when that bully happens to be the government. That's what today's video is about. It appears the NDP, alongside with a charitable organization and a posse full of cancel mobsters, have been working overtime to suck the life out of a small hospice, all because the people who run the hospice refuse to suck the life out of their patients. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, and recently one of our Rebel supporters brought to our attention a David and Goliath type battle. One that a long-standing hospice located in Delta, BC has been going through for the past couple of years. Now incorporated just 1 year shy of 3 decades ago, the Delta Hospice Society offers services for individuals living with life-threatening illnesses, as well as to their family and friends. It also runs the Irene Thomas Hospice. As per the website, the Irene Thomas Hospice is based upon the principles of hospice and palliative care for the person in care and for their loved ones. Specialized palliative care is provided to those who are in the last part of their life's journey. Now, this sounds like a good thing for that, but apparently it's not good enough for everyone. In 2016, Canada passed Bill C-14, making our country one of the few places in the world where euthanasia is formally legal. Now, that was just 4 years ago, so it shouldn't be surprising that people have different beliefs regarding what is argued or could be argued to be the most controversial procedure that anyone could have. One side of the coin, you have people who consider euthanasia to be a mercy killing, to which the government calls MAID, medical assistance in death. Yet flip that coin over and you have Canadians, including medical professionals, who believe that it's morally wrong to take part in facilitating someone's death, like it's premeditated, a murder of sorts. Dying with Dignity, a large charitable organization that advocates for assisted dying rules, is allegedly part of the muscle behind the attempts to force the Delta Hospice Society to perform MAID, even after the organization publicly acknowledged that not everyone dying from MAID has done so when they wanted to. Last year, CBC reported that Dying with Dignity's Chief Executive Officer, Shanaz Goku, said the restrictive law passed by Parliament 2 years ago has led to unnecessary suffering, forcing people to end their lives before they were ready to go. Now, instead of expressing concerns that this may be the byproduct of a law gone too far, Dying with Dignity believes that it is reason to reduce restrictions on how one can qualify for MAID, stating it's time for the government to ease rules, especially those around personal consent. In particular, they were talking about the fact that people have to confirm a second time prior to going ahead with MAID. Now, according to the Government of Canada, at least 13,946 Canadians have been assisted in their death during the years that it's been legal to do so. But Dying with Dignity isn't the only group that believes the law needs to allow more to be assisted in dying. At the end of 2018, the Liberal government received 3 expert panel reports from the Council of Canadian Academies, which looked at the possibility of extending medical assistance in dying to mature minors, also known as children, people label as mature. Also, for people with psychiatric conditions. The NDP has also been supportive of revisions to the law, stating that they will continue fighting for a legislation that respects charter rights and ensures Canadians can die with dignity, compassion, and fairness, and without excessive suffering. After speaking with the president of the Delta Hospice Society, it sounds like the NDP has been taking the fight quite seriously, at least against them. They have been dedicated to trying to get the society to submit to their call to have them to do assisted dying, despite the society's convictions. Now, Dying with Dignity also has been a part of this. As I've mentioned, I've reached out to them to see if they wanted to weigh into the report and haven't heard back from them yet. Now, let's hear from Angelina Ireland, the president of the hospice, right now. We're here with Angelina Ireland, president of the Delta Hospice Society. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what the society does for the people in the neighborhood here?
Yeah, this is the hospice is a palliative care facility, and we take care of people in their last days, and we also take care of their families. So here in the Supportive Care Center, we provide programs like bereavement counseling and therapy, group counseling for people who are cancer patients. So it's basically the patients from the hospice, their families, and other people in the community that require supportive care if they're going through health issues.
And how did you become the president?
Oh, well, I've been involved with the Delta Hospice Society for about 6 years. I came here as a client, as a cancer patient, and it was, my journey and the help that I received here at the Delta Hospice Society that made that journey just a little bit easier for me. And I vowed that if I got better and if I was able to beat this cancer, that I would do what I could to give back to the society. And throughout the years, it just happened that I ended up on the board of directors. And then after the last annual general meeting, I was elected as the president of the board of directors.
Wow, so you've the inside and out, you know it. You're the lady to talk to. Now, you guys have gone through quite a bit of challenges over the last couple of years, and you can get us up to speed on it. From your perspective, you've been in media. Media has done stories on you, mainstream media. But we want to hear the other side of the story. So let's start with what happened or how had things changed for the society after the NDP government got involved with some of the decision makings?
Right. Well, we, as a society, we have been around for about 30 years. And we fundraised to build the hospice and the supportive care center. So about 10 years ago, we built these beautiful buildings to devote to people who are in their last days and their families. And at that point, the government of British Columbia wanted to be our partner because we are a hospice and a palliative care facility. And then when the NDP government got in and Justin Trudeau with his euthanasia fetish, they decided they don't want to be our partner any longer because we're a hospice and a palliative care facility. So they sent us a directive and they said, you are going to have to provide euthanasia in your hospice because anybody who's getting government money has to do that. And first of all, we thought, well, it's not government money. I mean, this is taxpayer money, right? Mm-hmm. And this is who we take care of. We take care of taxpayers. Every patient that came through these doors is a taxpayer. Mm-hmm. And this is the service that we offer for them. So we flatly denied and rejected and resisted. And eventually we said we will not provide euthanasia. We will not kill our patients here.
Mm-hmm. And so what did that mean financially for you guys then after you put your foot down with that decision?
Well, the Fraser Health Authority, which is the territory that we sit in, that's who sort of takes care of medical things here. They told us that we didn't have an option, that we had to provide euthanasia or they would take our funding away. So we tried to reason with them, but they didn't want to mediate and they didn't want to consult. They just wanted to say, this is the only way that's going to happen. So we said, well, how about if we give you back half of what you provide for us for our beds in the hospice? So that's about $750,000 a year. And we'll give that up and we'll go out and we'll fundraise and we'll do what we can to make up that difference. And they wouldn't even consider it. They just said no. And so when we said, well, we're not going to be providing euthanasia, they decided that they were going to cancel our contract and stop giving us any funds at all.
Wow. So you guys came up with a real compromise and it didn't matter. So flash forward, is this a couple years that I'm flash forwarding since then?
This just happened in December.
Oh, wow.
They came after us. And then by the beginning of February, approximately, they cut our funding and told us that we will no longer be allowed to be a hospice. So they're taking our money away and they're not even allowing us to be a hospice any longer. And they will cancel our lease and they will take over this hospice. Basically, they will steal our assets and they will provide euthanasia.
Wow. Now you guys had to take this to the courts, right?
Well, we're still sort of trying to figure out how we're going to manage that, actually. But then, so here we are, and we are basically being bullied by not really the Fraser Health Authority, but the Ministry of Health itself. Because Minister Adrian Dix was the one that decided that we were not going to have funding anymore. They were going to take over our facilities. And he went out and did a press conference, where he told the entire province that the relationship with us had ended. So we're just a small 10-bed hospice, and to have the full weight of the government and the minister come down on us, it's a lot for us to try to manage. In the meantime, we had another sideshow going on. We had people around the community here that want euthanasia in this society, in this hospice. So they took it upon themselves to, not being members, of course, of the society, but took it upon themselves to organize and try to infiltrate the society. And then as members, they would vote against the purposes and the constitution of what we stand for and push in the euthanasia themselves.
So in your recent media press release, you referred to what you're just saying there as a hostile takeover, correct?
That's right.
Right. So let's dive a little deeper into that. What did that look like? How did they infiltrate the people in the neighborhood?
There was an orchestrated public campaign for people to buy memberships in the society and then force us to try to accept them. And it was very clear to us because they had a Facebook page, a Facebook campaign in which it was sort of a 24/7, let's bash the Delta Hospice Society, let's bash the board of directors, let's attack Angelina Ireland, and sort of gain this support. So they were able to attract quite a number of people to apply. So it was it's quite visible. So we were able to see that people who were applying really didn't want to continue with palliative care. They wanted to put euthanasia into the hospice. So that would go against our constitution and our purposes as we've always interpreted it for the last 30 years. So the board of directors said, well, this really isn't the society for you if that's your intention. So there's nothing much we can do for you here, so there's no use us accepting your application. So we rejected about 300 applications. And this is what caused the firestorm in the community. And we were taken to court by 3 petitioners that asked the judge at the BC Supreme Court to basically force us to accept all these people. So the BC Supreme Court Justice Fitzpatrick, ruled against us in a very, very extreme way. And she said that we must accept all of these applications. Anybody who puts $10 on the table is allowed to be a member of our private society. And so this is, at that point, we felt this is actually an infringement upon our constitutional rights, our freedom of association, our freedom of conscience, that a Supreme Court justice would try to force a private society that comes together for a purpose to accept people who are there for no other reason but to destroy that purpose. And to bring in euthanasia. So we appealed that to the BC Court of Appeals, and that's where we stand right now.
Wow. So now, what reason did you guys give for rejecting those memberships?
Well, because it was clear to us that they couldn't support the constitution of our society. They couldn't support palliative care, and for those people who don't really understand, palliative care does not hasten death. It is a 50-year medical discipline, of which actually Canada has had a lot to do with developing that discipline. A guy named Dr. Balfour Mount out of McGill University. So, the medical discipline is about allowing people in their last days to have a complete and total pain relief. So we're talking about pain and symptom management, so that they can pass away in a peaceful and a pain-free state. And, many people find that attractive. And the philosophy also includes taking care of people's families. Right, so that's what we do, and the concept of euthanasia is foreign to palliative care. It is not included in palliative care. So that's what we stood on, the fact that this is the kind of work that we do. This is what we've always done. Even the World Health Organization admits that euthanasia is not part of palliative care.
The shoe doesn't fit.
No. So, and if in fact you want to have a society that offers MAID, well, right next door is the Delta Hospice, and you can have MAID there. It's not even a minute away. There's many places where you have access to MAID, as they call it. You can have it in your home, at the hospital, in a park, in the mountains, on the beach, you name it, right? Mm-hmm. But what's happening in Canada is that there is a decreased access to palliative care. Mm-hmm. And we just want to protect the 10 beds that we have for palliative care patients who don't want to have euthanasia among them, next to somebody who's dying, next to them is being put to death. That's not the experience that they want. Mm-hmm. And so we want to protect that for them. Mm-hmm. And we want to actually give a true choice to end-of-life care. Mm-hmm. And so those are the kinds of reasons why we stand on resisting being forced to provide euthanasia here.
Wow. I mean, you're not the only one to have an organization or a group that wants like-minded people. We've seen fitness centers for women only and things like that. And as you mentioned, the World Health Organization says, the shoe doesn't fit if you're trying to do this. And it is amazing to hear about just 10 beds, and how many people have come together to kind of squash that. So you're here right now, and where are you guys going to move forward with this? What is the fork in the road?
Well, what's happened now is actually far beyond euthanasia and palliative care. I mean, what the Supreme Court of British Columbia has done is basically set a precedent where every private society in this country is not allowed the autonomy to establish its own membership. And that's frightening. Mm-hmm. As far as we're concerned, that goes against our constitutional rights. Mm-hmm. So not only now do we still fight to protect palliative care, but we also fight to protect every society that's private in this country. And that's important, right? Mm-hmm. Because if people don't stand for their rights, if people just allow, judges and politicians to take away the rights that they have been given to them, that's how we lose them. So now we have another battle, but we're prepared to take it on because it's important, and we're prepared to stand for those who want a palliative care experience in their last days, and we're prepared to stand for public societies who want just the right to not have the majority opinion, that a minority view needs to also be protected in this country.
Right. And so I imagine there are a lot of legal fees around the corner, or you're in the process of those. Where can someone go who's listening to this that wants to support you and your David and Goliath sort of battle that you're going through? Where can they go to help out?
It is. We have a website at deltahospice.org. We have a donation page. Just go onto Google it. Google it, Delta Hospice Society, and you will get to our webpage. And we have a donations page. So we would definitely ask and plead and encourage people who want to protect palliative care in this country, who want to protect their ability to just have a private society in this country, to give us a hand, because the legal costs are huge, and we really don't have any choice but to fight this battle. We have to do this. Mm-hmm.
And if it comes down to the point where you were to lose the financial battle and that was it, you're forced to do euthanasia, what would happen to the Hospice Society?
Well, I think that Minister Adrian Dix at the moment has said that the government is going to take over this facility, right? Mm-hmm. We went and we fundraised to build our buildings, and those are our property. Those are our private property. We were given a 35-year lease from the Fraser Health Authority in order to build these buildings on that land. And now they want to cancel that lease, and they want to steal our buildings. So, we're in a position where, I characterize it as just being stone cold communism, where the government decides this is the directive and you're going to follow it, or we're going to steal all your stuff and take away all your rights. Mm-hmm. And also the rights of people who want this type of care and whose families think it's a good option for their parents as well. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what the role Dying with Dignity Canada has played in all of this? Yeah, it's been really disturbing, actually. We have been in receipt of emails that they sent over to us, I think inadvertently, because I don't think they wanted us to know this, but Dying with Dignity Canada has been colluding with the petitioners that have taken us to court, in which they tried to force members into our society. And we have emails that say that to go ahead, these petitioners, and take us to court, because if they lose, then Dying with Dignity will arrange for their legal fees to be paid. And Dying with Dignity is a large Canada interest group that's concerned with pushing the euthanasia agenda. So, to have this group, and we've received other emails as well, in which, former board members and one of the former acting executive directors was in communication with people like Alex Muir, who's a Dying with Dignity spokesperson here in Vancouver, emails that celebrated when we had our funding taken away from us, celebrated that now we really got them where we want them, and celebrated about how they can get into our hospice and how into our society and basically take over. And again, this is a private society that has dedicated 30 years of its existence to just helping people who are in their last days and their families, and to be bullied and to be for me it's mind-boggling that we would be targeted to such an extent. We must have 10 magical beds here, right? That a nationwide,
my goodness,
a nationwide interest group would spend their time to put their focus on us, to shut us down and force the government to require us to commit euthanasia.
Now I'm curious, with all of this joint effort against you guys, did you guys see any decrease in activity from the opposition during the lockdown, or were things still coming at you guys?
No, they were mobilizing through a Facebook group. It was a sort of they called it Delta Hospice Discussion, and it was basically a 24/7 defamatory social terrorist hate group that would attack. So the Delta Hospice Society, they would attack myself, and they would figure out strategies of how we can get in and what we can do to shut them down. And personally, they came after me in a way which is quite astounding. They contacted my organizations in which I participate in, the Rotary Club, telling the president they better not have anything to do with me any longer. They even went to my priest and told my priest that he should, basically, get me under control, because I'm really offending the community by not helping, put euthanasia into the hospice. So it was and it's interesting because Facebook didn't shut them down, right? They're allowed to, be defamatory.
That's a whole nother video.
Yeah. They're allowed to, continue and basically try to, dox people and destroy their lives. That's perfectly fine, as long as it's, in the social agenda, which is to, force euthanasia onto the Canadian populace. So, we have had basically one battle after the other, but still we stand and still we fight, and we're not prepared to shut that down anytime soon.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Angelina. I think I would love to follow up on this and maybe even talk to some of the families that have been affected from pressures in other places like this. It's definitely worth looking into. So thank you so much for being on Rebel.
Thank you so much.
Now, I'm curious as to what your thoughts are about the pressure the Delta Hospice Society is receiving to provide MAID. Should they lose all of their funding from taxpayer dollars because they feel it's against the whole purpose of palliative care and the sanctity of life? Drea Humphrey with Rebel News. Here at Rebel, we work hard to bring you the other side of the story. If you'd like to help us to continue to do so and be a part of our journey with us, please head to letusreport.ca, where your donations go towards any of the powers that be that are trying to stop us from doing so.